Fancy your Dungeness crab cake with a smoky red pepper aioli, fresh fruit salsa, and a fennel salad? You had me at crab cake. This delicious action-packed recipe is brought to you by Air Miles Happy Every Day. I'm Chef Spencer Watts, and in the great words of Peter Pan, this is going to be a good adventure. Okay, let's start with the star of the show, the feature presentation, crab cake. I'm using fresh Dungeness crab. It's delicious, but you might be thinking to yourself right now, I can't get Dungeness crab. That's okay. If you can't get Dungeness crab, there's some pretty good canned crab products out there. Drain out the water and kind of roll it through your hands. Look for any shells. You don't want those in your crab cake. Or, here's a little secret. Don't tell anybody. If you use the same weight in this recipe with shrimp, you just poach it in a little lemon water, cool it, chop it up. Shrimp cake's delicious. Crab cake, shrimp cake, they're the same. I'm using Dungeness crab, so let's get into it. So, the crab can go in, and I like some veg in my crab cake. So I'm going to use a bit of poblano pepper. Poblano pepper is super delicious. It's got like a rich, earthy note to it. The flesh is nice and thick, and when it cooks, that's when it transforms and gets pretty magical. If you don't have a poblano, use a green pepper. You want to cut it up into a nice small dice. You don't want huge chunks of the poblano or the green pepper in the crab cake. So just take your time, run your knife through all of it. You want kind of like these little micro pieces of poblano. And then I like a bit of onion in my crab cake. So you can use whatever onion that you like. I have a shallot, and I like that light, delicate onion feel. And just like the poblano or the green pepper, you want to slice it up. So this is a pretty good way to dice it. You go one way, then you go across, and then you can get some really nice tiny little pieces of shallot. And that's a great little baby onion texture and taste. Okay, crab loves garlic, so I'm gonna put a little shot of garlic in there. I really like that explosive taste of garlic in the crab cake. I use a microplane, beat it up. Maximum garlic flavor. Okay, so the seasonings for it are gonna be pretty simple. Old Bay. Old Bay is delicious, and it's made out of paprika. Well, the main flavors of it are paprika, mustard, and celery seed. Translation, super good flavor, and it goes really well with the crab. It's a good flavor to stand on its own, but it also complements like the beautiful light sweetness of the crab meat. I don't put any salt and pepper in it because it's got that natural kiss of salt from the ocean, but I do put a little Worcestershire in it. Worcestershire is good. It's got a vinegary punch. There's some anchovy in it. It's explosive. So there's a couple ways that you can bind it. Full fat mayo works pretty well. I've used whipped egg white before, but you just want like something that's just gonna give it a little bit of extra moisture. And then to help bind it, a bit of breadcrumb. You can use whatever breadcrumb that you want. I have panko. You know, I start with a little bit and then see what it's like, and then if it needs more panko mayo, I add it. But you just want that to kind of like bind it all together. Like I said, I've used egg white before, but I find the mayo, the fattiness with the crab, it's killer. It's so good. So just mix it up, and then if it seems a little too wet, you can add a little bit of panko or your regular breadcrumb. But here's a great tip. Breadcrumbs are like sponges. They're gonna soak up a lot of that moisture from the mayo inside of it. And then what I like to do is just press it down like that and let it sit for a few minutes, and it's just gonna, that panko is gonna drink up all of that flavor, and that makes a great bond for a crab cake. And it smells delicious with the Old Bay, simple seasonings, keep the salt out of it, let the crab shine. Okay, so great crab cake has a great sauce, so let's make it together. This red pepper aioli is super delicious and really easy to make. I have roasted red peppers here. So like a regular red pepper, it's like Clark Kent. It's got some glasses on, it works for a newspaper. But as soon as you roast it, that's when the glasses come off, the cape comes on, and it turns into a super pepper. So I just roasted mine in the oven, and then I take the skin and the seeds out of it. If you don't want to roast your own, and you know a guy that has a pretty sweet deal on peppers, you can find this stuff in the store, and it's just as good. And it gives it a lot of good color and a lot of good flavor. And then when you roast it, it takes some of that harsh acidity out of it. It turns the pepper really nice and sweet, and it supercharges the pepper. It is definitely super pepper. Okay, so you really want to jump up with the flavor. So some shallot, because the red pepper loves a little burst of onion. You could use white onion or red onion if you want. A couple of garlic cloves or one garlic clove, just because it gives it like a lot of balance and a lot of flavor. That's pretty delicious. And Because there is some natural acidity in there, just put a shot of honey in it. It kind of like complements the acidity and it complements the sweetness of the red peppers. And then to get some smoky flavor, I'm using smoked paprika. It's so good. Don't be shy with the smoked paprika. You want it nice and smoky. And then to make it silky smooth, a shot of Dijon is gonna give it some spice and it's gonna make the sauce really super silky smooth. And then again, to add some more of the silkiness, you can put 1 egg yolk in there. Leave the white out, you just want the yolk, it makes it really nice and creamy. All right, so to play with the acid a little bit more, shot of vinegar. You can use red wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar. I'm gonna use some white wine vinegar. It just like makes the pepper sauce jump off the back of your tongue. And then some good oil. So, wait 1 minute. You're gonna season it with salt and pepper. And here's another good tip. Put everything in the blender and then get it going and then finish with the oil, and that's how you get a really nice emulsification and it makes the sauce silky smooth. All right, let's do it. We're gonna blend the sauce. Yes. You can use whatever oil that you like. I'm using a nice olive oil, you can use canola oil, rapeseed oil, whatever you like, and it just makes it so creamy. It's that simple to make it. And I always like to give it a little taste just to see where I am. Oh, it is so good. It's the roasted red pepper, the extra shot of vinegar, the extra shot of sugar, and the smoked paprika that makes that absolutely wonderful. Okay, crab cake sitting, that's really good. Red pepper aioli is super delicious. Let's make a fresh fruit salsa. And I like this with the crab cake because there's a lot of intense flavor in there and there's a lot of good ocean flavor. So like brightness and sweetness from the fruit salsa, it's just gonna make this whole thing like go crazy. So I have a mango. Here's a couple of good tips. I like to peel the mango before I dice it. You find a nice ripe mango, get a peeler, and then when you cut it, all the peels are gone, and then you don't have to like Back to the Future the mango. And this salsa is super versatile. If you don't like mango, don't put it in. You could substitute pineapple, you could put avocado in there, just something that's nice, fresh, sweet, slightly tropical, and you're good to go. Okay, so here's how I like to cut the mango. You got the cheeks, and I just like to cut the cheeks off of it, and I find that that's perfect for the salsa. And then you can cut these ends off, or I save them, and these make great snacks, especially if your nephew's around. He loves to eat the mango. And then this part is really fun. So just give it some slices along, take your time with it, and then you can get some really nice square pieces of the mango, line them up, do a nice dice. You want some nice chunks in there. You really want the salsa to kind of explode when you eat it. You want to get that shot of salsa and go, yeah, there it is. And then I put a little pear into it. I like the balance of the super sweet mango and then like the juicy, crunchy pear, because the pear has a lot of water in it. It makes it super delicious. Gonna make a salsa and have a crab cake. So the mango is like super sexy and fudgy and chewy, and the pear is like really crisp and crunchy and watery. They're like the best two friends for a fruit salsa. And some onion. I'm gonna do shallot again because I have it. So a little bit of lime zest and lime juice. And because the mango and the pear are really nice and sweet, that little acidic kick wakes everybody up, makes for a pretty good fruit salsa. And then I put in a little shot, a little kiss of oil, and then to highlight the sweetness just a little bit more, a little drop of honey. And there's one herb I put into the salsa. You could use whatever herb that you like, but I love the fragrance, the punch, and the excitement of a good shot of cilantro. And then if you want to get a little funky because of the balance of the sweet and salt, just put just a couple crystals of salt in there. Just sneak it in, because salt highlights the natural flavor of anything. So a little sweet, a little salt in that salsa is so good. So let's make crab cake, shall we? This is what I like to do. Get a little parchment paper. So the crab mix has had a moment to like soak up all that panko, and when you touch it, you can tell that it's paste and it's ready to be formed. So I have a molding ring. If you don't have a molding ring, you can use a deli cup, cut the end off of it, or like a can of soup. Just take the other lid off of it, wash it, and it'll make a nice ring. And this is nice. You don't want to build the crab cakes too high because the crab meat's already cooked, so you just want to get a nice crust on the top and the bottom. Pack it down. And this is another way to get that panko to soak up some of that mayo and some of those spices, and then just lift the ring. That is beautiful. And I like it. I like the surface area. You want a good crust, and then just the middle of it is kind of fudgy and creamy. That's like the best part of a crab cake for me, is that crust and then that like soft inside. And then these are great to do ahead of time. You've got people coming over, you can make this mix, you can form them, keep them in your fridge. Your company arrives, the salsa's made, you're ready to go. Fry the crab cakes, you're golden. Okay, to cook them is super simple. So, because there's a lot of panko in there, and the panko acts like a sponge, and it's drinking up mayo, and it's drinking up Old Bay. So when you fry it, it's gonna drink up a lot of oil or fat. So whether you're using oil and butter, make sure you kind of lean into it a little bit because the panko's gonna take a big drink of that fat. And then you can lay them down. I like to do the bottom side first and get that really nice and crispy. And if you want to, get them in your hands, pack them down a little bit, that's perfect. And lay it in. You hear that? Shh. That's a great sound. Leave it there, don't touch it, let the crust develop. You don't want an aggressive heat, you just want to start it really light so it's like pop, 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 pop. And let the crust develop nice and slowly. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Okay, so just one other thing I'm going to serve with this, and it's a fennel salad. Fennel's great because it has a little bit of licorice in it, and it's just good and fresh and big and vibrant. So this is a fennel bulb, and it's got kind of the root in there. What I like to do is just cut it and cut the root out. If you don't have a mandolin like I do, you can just use your knife and take your time and just go as paper thin as possible, and that's pretty good. But I like using the mandolin so you can get it really nice and thin. So I keep the seasonings for the fennel dead simple. Because it's got that licorice note to it, a nice shot of lemon will help kind of cut through the licorice, and then fennel, lemon, crab cake, all of this makes sense. And then just a shot of oil, just a little salt, shot of oil, a little bit of lemon, golden. Okay, yeah, these crab cakes are looking really good. And the great thing about crab cakes is while they're cooking, you can kind of watch the crust develop right underneath of it. And then once you kind of see some golden brown goodness, it's time to give it a little twist. And that's really nice. A little crust on it, super delicious. And then just let it go on the back side for just a few minutes, and that's great. You kind of want to keep it nice and light and delicate. There's nothing like a crab cake that has a ton of fillers like mashed potato and stuff. You want that crab to just barely hold together, so when you touch it with the fork, it just kind of falls apart. Okay, let's plate it up. So I like to start with the sauce, and the sauce is so good, I'm not shy with it. And because that crab cake is delicious, you want a chance for that crab cake to soak up a lot of the sauce. Okay, the next, the crab. Super delicate, super delicious. Pick it up, nice crust on the bottom, simple crust on the top, and you can see how delicate the crab is, which is my favorite part. Like if you just start to touch it, it just almost starts to fall apart. And then a little bit of that fresh salsa, kind of in, on, around, and it's gonna give pops of freshness, pops of color, and the smoked paprika and the spiciness of the red pepper aioli is just kind of like counterbalanced by the sweetness of the salsa. It's super delicious. And then with the fennel, it's kind of like a little salad, so you just want to dress it around the crab cake. It's gonna add such good crunch, and it's got that like licorice flavor that goes so well with seafood. And then fennel has like the little fennel tops on it, so I like to take them and take that off, and it kind of adds a cool texture and a little bit of color to it, and it's like a free garnish. And you can play around with the salsas, play around with the veg that you put into the crab cake, have fun with it, make it your own. That looks delicious. I love this recipe because it's easy on the eyes, fun to make, and you can be really creative with a crab cake. This will make every day a happy one. Make this recipe, enjoy.